After establishing the possibility that the evolution of the objective mind may outpace the subjective mind, but that the reverse of this may also occur, I wish to return now to the significance of the division of labor for the realization of the former case. Stated briefly, the twofold possibility arises in the following manner. The fact that the objectified mind, incorporated in all kinds of production, is superior to the single individual is due to the complexities of the mode of production, which presupposes an extremely large number of historical and material factors, forerunners and collaborators. As a result, the product may contain energies, qualities and additional potentialities that lie quite outside the grasp of the individual producer. This is particularly common in specifically modern technology as a result of the division of labor. As long as the product was manufactured by a single producer or by a relatively unspecialized form of cooperation, the content of mind and power objectified in the product could not greatly exceed those of the individuals involved. Only a sophisticated division of labor imbues the individual product with energies derived from a very large number of individuals, so that the product, viewed as a unity and compared with single individuals, is bound to be superior in many different respects. This accumulation of quality and excellence in the object that forms their synthesis is unlimited, whereas the growth of individuals in any period of time and by their very nature has quite definite natural limits. Yet although the fact that the objective product absorbs many qualities of a number of persons and provides supreme possibilities for development, it nonetheless forfeits that perfection which can only be the result of the synthesis of energies of a single human subject. The state, especially the modern state, is the clearest illustration of this. When rationalism denounces as logically contradictory the situation in which the monarch, who is after all only a single individual, rules over an extremely large number of other people, this criticism overlooks the fact that the people, to the extent that they constitute this monarchic state, are not human beings in the same sense as the monarch. They participate in the state only with a small fraction of their existence and their energies, the remainder extends to other groups and the whole of their personality is in no way incorporated in any one of them. But the monarch does identify himself with the state and engages himself in it more than any of his subjects. As long as the regime is an absolute one, in the sense that the ruler has unlimited power of disposal over his subjects, this discrepancy will exist. In contrast, the modern constitutional state delineates precisely the area in which people are committed to the state differentiates people in order to constitute itself by certain selected elements. The greater this differentiation is, the more distinctly does the state as an objective institution whose form contradicts personal individuality differ from the individual. The state thus becomes a synthesis of the differentiated elements of its subjects, an entity that obviously stands both below and above the individual person. The same is true of all institutions of the objective mind that are based on the combination of differentiated individual efforts. For however much they may surpass the individual intellect in objective intellectual content and evolutionary potential, we nonetheless conceive of them in the same way as we do a mere inanimate and soulless mechanism to the extent that differentiation and the number of cooperating factors increase. The difference between mind and soul comes to the fore here. Mind is the objective content of what the soul becomes aware of as a living function. The soul is, as it were, the form that the mind, that is the logical conceptual content of thought, assumes for our subjectivity, as our subjectivity. The mind in this sense, therefore, is not tied to the formation of a unity without which no soul exists. It is as if the mental contents are somehow dispersed in their existence and only the soul assembles them as a unity, almost as inorganic matter is incorporated into an organism and the unity of its life. Herein lies the greatness as well as the limitation of the soul in relation to the individual contents of consciousness when looked at in terms of their independent validity and objective significance. Plato depicted the realm of ideas in glowing perfection and complete self-contentedness. These ideas are nothing other than the objective contents of thought detached from all the arbitrariness of their actual representation, and so the soul of man with its pale, vague and chimerical reflection of things of true significance appeared to him imperfect, conditioned and obscure. Yet for us such graphic clarity and logical determination of form are not the only. The breakdown of individuals into their particular energies which is determined by our organization of the labor process, and the reintegration of what has been differentiated into an objective cultural product, results in the object being deprived of a soul, the more people participate in its manufacture. The splendor and greatness of modern culture possesses some analogy with Plato's radiant realm of ideas in which the objective spirit of things exists in unblemished perfection, but yet lacks the values of the particular personality that cannot be dissolved into objectivities. This is a deficiency that persists despite any amount of awareness of the fragmentary, irrational and ephemeral character of these values. Indeed, personal spirituality possesses a value as mere form that asserts itself despite all the mediocrity and counter-idealism of its content. It retains its particular significance for our existence and, in contrast to all its objective aspects, even for those instances from which we commenced, where individual subjective culture declines while objective culture progresses. The relationship between objectified mind and its evolution to the subjective mind is of extreme importance to every cultural community and especially with reference to its style of life. For if the importance of style lies in its ability to express any number and variety of contents in related forms, then the relationship between objective and subjective mind with reference to quantity, size and pace of development can be the same, even for quite different contents of the cultural mind. The general way of living, the framework that the social culture offers to individual impulses, is circumscribed by the following questions. Is the inner life of the individual close to or estranged from the objective cultural evolution of his age? Does the individual experience this evolution, of which he has only a marginal comprehension, as superior, or does he consider his personal value to be higher than that of all reified mind? Are the objective, historically given elements an autonomous power within his own mental life, so that they and the specific core of his personality develop independently of each other? Is the soul, so to speak, master in its own house, or is there at least a harmony with regard to standards, meaning and rhythm established between its innermost life and what it has to absorb into that life as impersonal contents? These abstract formulations indicate the outline of innumerable concrete daily and lifelong interests and moods, and in so doing also denote the extent to which the relationships between objective and subjective culture determine the style of life. The relation of money to the agents of these opposing tendencies. If the present form of this relationship is sustained by the division of labor, then it is also an offshoot of the money economy, first, because the splitting up of the productive process into a large number of partial operations requires an organization that functions with absolute precision and reliability which, since the end of slave labor, has only been possible if workers are paid in money. Any other mediated relationship between employer and worker would entail incalculable elements, partly because payment in kind cannot be so easily provided and determined and partly because only the pure money relationship possesses the exclusively objective, automatic character that is the prerequisite for highly specialized and complex organizations. Second, because the essential reason for the emergence of money becomes more and more pressing as production becomes more specialized. For it is the essence of economic transactions that one person gives up what another person desires, provided this other person acts in the same manner. The moral rule that one should do unto others as one would have done unto oneself finds the clearest example of its formal realization in the economy. If, for instance, a producer finds a purchaser for the object A which he wishes to exchange, then it is often the case that object B, which the purchaser wishes to offer in return, is not what the producer desires. That such a difference in the demand of two persons does not always coincide with the difference in the products they have to offer requires, as is well known, the intervention of a means of exchange. Thus, if the owners of A and B are unable to agree on a direct exchange, one can exchange A for money with which he can obtain the that he desires, and the owner of B can procure the money to buy A by means of a similar transaction with a third party. Since money is required because of the diversity of products, or of demand for products, its role becomes obviously greater and more indispensable the greater the variety of objects that are included in the transaction. Or, conversely, a considerable specification of operations can evolve only if direct exchange is no longer necessary.